and welcome to Spaced Out Radio. Tonight, my name is Dave Scott, and beside me right here is Sheila Seppi. And we are going to bring you an extraordinary show of talent, vision, and cosmology, and whatever else falls in between. We are in for a great show tonight. SheilaSeppi.com is Sheila's website. Before we get to Sheila and learn all about her tonight, because this is Sheila Seppi night tonight on the show, I want to say a big hello to everyone in our chat room so far. Race Fan taking home the gold medal tonight. SJ with the silver. The lovely and talented Cosmic Floor with the bronze medal. Gorgeous Aussie Ange is in fourth. How are you? Jurassic Joey. Sultry Susie, good to see you. Jack Clark and the lovely Jenny Metz are here, everyone. Alaska's greatest athlete, the gorgeous Emily Bigelow, has arrived. H.L. Westlake, good to see you. Spanish Fly, thank you for joining us. We really do appreciate that. Gorgeous Renee, Jay Breezy, how are you? Typical Watch, Mennonite Abe, good to have you guys here. Mennonite Abe, by the way, will be signing autographs after the show. Line up to the right of the studio, if you don't mind, to the right. Mama Susan is here. She'll be signing autographs after the show. Line up to the left of the studio. She only signs black and white photos, people. Only signs black and white. Gorgeous Laura Stevens has returned. There she is. Hello, Boz Monster. How are you, buddy? Good to have you back. Paul Holland from Australia, thank you for joining us. Really do appreciate it, my friend. And let me see, where are we? Dirty Filth is here. Hey, Dirty Filth, take a bow, my friend. Take a bow. Wave to your audience. Gorgeous Tammy Finnegan. I stuttered over it because I was just so shocked to see you. Stakes on a UFO Stakester. Thanks for coming on in. Hi, Sandra. Hi, Sandra. Hi, Sandra. Yes. Have to say her name 3 times for good luck. Andrew, how are you, my friend? Good to have you here. Gorgeous Michelle C. The lovely Manitoba Becky. They call her the Brandon Wheat Queen. The Brandon Wheat Queen. UFO Knot, good to see you. Ozzy, oi, oi to you. Millennium, John Ballerman, and 416. Thanks for coming on in. The gorgeous Block Chic. How are you? Ozzy, sister. Nice to have you here. $5,900. Good to see you. Double Tim, good to have you here, buddy. And Brett Lewis is here, which means we can officially start the show. Brett Lewis has arrived. Rooted in gorgeous sacredness. Oh, my God. Look who it is, people. Look who it is. The return of Fabster. He's been gone for a couple of weeks, a secret mission, patrolling all the bingo halls, looking for a date. Must have got one because he is now back in the Spaced Out Radio chat room. Jeff Steve Garvey, how are you, man? Lovely Linda Bennett, good to see you. And who else do we have here? Bonjour, Julien, comment ça va? Bonjour, Jean-Paul. Ça va bien? Anyways, they're talking a little en français there. Bigfoot, Michigan Rob. Hey, buddy, how you doing? Richard Elmore, good to see you. Grandmaster, thanks for coming on in. So we scroll on up now. The Ronald Penton is here, everyone. The Ronald Penton. Project Blue Book, good to have you here, brother. Thank you for coming on in. Casual Conversation, otherwise known as Gorgeous Gloria, has returned. Give a wave, Gorgeous Gloria. You deserve it. Well, let's see. Who else is here? Oh, my goodness. There she is, everyone. There she is. The lovely and talented Jessica McCreary has returned. Drake C., thanks for coming on in, buddy. Appreciate you. Well, let's see. Who else? I know. Rooted in Gorgeous Sacredness. I think I already called you, but that's okay. We can call you again. It's my show. I can do that. I have the power to do that. I think we are caught up. Oh, the Jim Christie has arrived, everyone. The Jim Christie. And look at this. We have a new listener here. The gorgeous Chloe Welsh has arrived. Chloe, say hi to everybody if you don't mind. We would appreciate that. And, all right. We got about 29 seconds, or no, a little bit more than that, before we're going to get going here. I want to remind everybody that a great way to support this show, if you're new, is by hitting that subscribe button and ringing that bell so you know when we are going to come on live. The Super Chat is open because it's a great way to support this show and what we do here on a nightly basis. And if you're a veteran, thank you so much for tuning us in. We love our regulars here as well. Sinister Vax, good to see you. Thanks for joining us, buddy. And am I missing anybody? Carrie Ann, the lovely Carrie Ann from Pennsylvania. Uncle Dale and his power stash from Austin, Texas. If you're in Austin, Texas, and you find Uncle Dale, rub his power stash for 7 days of good luck, people. Stargate, good to have you here, buddy. Thank you for coming on in. Jello, nice to see you. We're going to get going here in 5 seconds. Let's have a great show with Sheila Seppi, everyone. The time has arrived for us to rock. Let's do it. From the mountains of central British Columbia to you listening around the world, this, my friends, is Spaced Out Radio. I am your host, Dave Scott, sitting in the captain's chair of SOR headquarters. We welcome you to tonight's show on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on TalkStream Live, Revolution Radio, and KPNL. All of our archives are free by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor. Hit that subscribe button. You can follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot and reading up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire. Tonight's show is brought to you by Chive Charities. Help make the world 10% happier by visiting Chive Charities today. You can find them on our website. Sheila Seppi is the author of the book Walk-Ins, Cosmology of the Soul. This book describes her story and memories and those of 15 other walk-ins and 8 people in the field of consciousness and science. Sheila also offers traditional and non-traditional spiritual and healing sessions for integrated total body wellness and cosmic integration services. She also provides spiritual teaching, workshops, classes, seminars, conducts weddings, intensive training programs, and offers both in-person and long-distance sessions. Her website, once again, SheilaSeppi.com. Sheila, welcome to Spaced Out Radio for the first time. How are you?
I'm great. Thanks for inviting me.
It is so good to have you here. And you know what? I don't think we do enough Zen and Chi talk. I really don't. I don't think we align our chakras enough in order to do this show every night. So that's why I'm glad that you're here. So that way you can straighten us out, align us all with the spiritual woo of it all. And we really do appreciate you coming in here.
Thanks.
Were you always gifted in the intuition side of things, or did you have to learn it at a different age?
Oh, no, I was not. When I was growing up, I was in a very small box, very limited belief system. I did not even read a book about metaphysics. I didn't believe in past lives. I didn't believe in clairvoyance. I didn't believe in any of those things. I did believe in, intuition, and that was about it. And that lifestyle kind of led me down a path that caused me to become very, very ill. And I, over a period of years, had been diagnosed with the potential of brain tumors. They told me I would be in a wheelchair by the time I was in my 30s because they believed for me to have multiple sclerosis or MS. They told me that I had fibromyalgia, chronic fatigue, I had migraines, and in my 30s, they told me that I had bone cancer. And I had an oncologist from Duke University. They went to perform the surgery. Voila, it was gone. No explanation for that. And the problem was, though, I kept getting sicker and sicker and sicker. And so when I was 38, a mom of 3 kids, I was married, had a pretty high profile job in the area that I was in, but I was very, very sick. So I went to bed with all these illnesses, all these limited belief systems. And what seemed to be around 7 o'clock the next morning, it felt as if someone reached down, grabbed me by the hair of the head, and pulled me bolt upright in the bed. And then it was like lightning ran through my body. Then I was in white space. And I don't know how long I was in white space, but I knew I was out of pain. I felt very comfortable. And I was very happy where I was. But then my peripheral vision started coming in, and then my frontal vision. And as I looked around the room, everything was exactly the same as the night before, but everything was different. All of a sudden, if I looked at a piece of clothing, I knew when it was worn last. I knew if it had been at work. I could remember, there were conversations, information coming off the clothing items. When I got up and walked across the carpet, I saw myself in the mirror, and I just stopped and was amazed, because it was like there was a stranger staring back at me. And then throughout the entire day, I was just in amazement at everything. I would pick up objects and look at them and turn them over. And then even that first day, I started hearing voices in my head. Now, my background was in psychology, and so hearing voices was not acceptable. So I thought I might be having a psychotic break based on the illnesses, based on, the dysfunctional marriage, based on work. Everything maybe was coming to a head. Then I started seeing people that really weren't there. I started knowing things about people. And over a period of about a week, it was so intense. I had absolutely no idea what was going on, because now remember, I had never even read a metaphysical book, so I had no foundation for what I was beginning to experience. I would remember like past lives, and I didn't believe in them. I would remember different healing rituals and ceremonies, and I would started to have all this information about the universe kind of swirling around in my head that made absolutely no sense to me whatsoever. So within 3 months, I had left the marriage. And within another 3 months, I had accepted a position in another state. And it was in the other state where I actually sought out a spiritual counselor to assist me. And so when I went to see this counselor, I found out, first off, she was of Hopi lineage. And she, in addition to providing counseling services, also had spiritual women's groups that got together. But over the course of maybe the first, second, third meeting, I'm not really exactly sure, she introduced the concept of a walk-in. Now, I had never heard of a walk-in before, and I didn't believe in that. I didn't even believe it as she was telling me, but it resonated true for me. And everything she was telling me, I was in agreement with, because my personality had changed. All of my illnesses went away. I had different taste in foods. I left the marriage. And one of the things that was the most concerning to me is I had a very distinct lack of memory. And I could not remember like my childhood. I couldn't even remember a lot of things about the kids, and that really bothered me. I did have select memories at that time, very select memories. But at one point, I was visiting my family in Virginia, and I was at a gathering, and people would come up and start talking to me, and I had absolutely no idea who they were. So my mom kind of witnessed this. And at the end of the evening, she pulled me aside and sat me down, and she goes, "I've got to talk to you." Well, I thought she was going to tell me she had an illness or something like that, because she was very, very serious. And she said, "I want you to go to a doctor, because I think you have the beginning stages of Alzheimer's," because I couldn't remember anybody. And so I had to finally tell my mom that I was a walk-in. Now, that was such a new concept for me that it took a long time for me to really be able to wrap my brain around that, because again, I had such a limited belief system and no knowledge, no metaphysical knowledge. And until I had my spiritual teacher, I was truly convinced that I was having a psychotic break, because you don't hear voices in your head. You don't see things. You don't know things about people. You don't have prophetic dreams, all of those types of things. But thank goodness I did find my spiritual teacher. And so I was there with her and studied. I lived there for about 4 years. And then I met my husband, my current husband, and we moved to Colorado. And in Colorado, I started my own healing center. And everything was going fine. And then all of a sudden, my guides started really working with me. And they began to kind of qualify and quantify and organize some of that information that was in my head. So I had a really good working relationship with them, and they were providing all kinds of answers to me, like, what happened to the other soul? You know, did this soul just come in and kind of bump them out? What happened? And my guides explained to me that there was a pre-birth plan for most walk-ins, that is agreement on the other side, that at a certain point in time that the souls will switch places, and that this soul, the soul that I'm in, the Sheila suit, this soul decided to come in at age 38, and that soul decided to exit. I also learned about there are doorways throughout our entire lifetime where we could exit. And in these birth plans, we could say, like, okay, at age 3, I'm going to be in an automobile accident. And the soul says, okay, well, I'm not really ready to exit. So the body miraculously heals. And at age 18, something happens, an illness, and the soul decides it's not ready to exit, so it stays. But maybe at age 25, it's like, okay, I have learned everything that I need to know, and I'm ready to go. And that's when a soul would come in. So there are certain exit points that every soul has. So as I began to learn all of this information, I started sharing it because my teacher had encouraged me to start my own women's circles. And I did. And so I was very happy with that. My business was growing. I was providing energy service, energy healing, crystal healings, chakra balances, all those types of things. And then my guides came to me and they said, you know, people cannot drop into the essence of who they truly are when they're in pain, because all they do is focus on that pain. So it's very hard for them to find that spiritual aspect of themselves. And they said, you're going to have to learn some more healing modalities. And so I did. I began to learn healing modalities, and I began to expand and to expand. And every time I was at my comfort zone, they kept saying, go bigger, go bigger. And I just kept going and kept going and kept going. And the last time they said to go bigger, I literally yelled at them and said, look, I'm working 5 days a week. I'm providing teachings at night, doing workshops on the weekends. I have no more hours. I cannot do anything else. And that's when they said, well, you don't have to do everything else. Start bringing other people in. So I did. I started inviting other speakers to come in. I started inviting other healers to come in, and everything was going great. And I thought, this is what they wanted. And then the next thing I heard, go bigger, until it finally got to the point. I mean, I was having larger and larger events, and I had one event on our land called Spirit Fest, and I had all types of different speakers from everywhere to come in. And I had started to put together a draft of what had happened to me, because I had been asked to make a presentation to an organization. And they said, well, we want you to put a PowerPoint together. And I'm like, how do you put this story into a PowerPoint, you know? And so I did, and I started making notes. And from those notes, I really began to write down some of the details that I was remembering. And I shared my story actually with my friend Andrea Piran, and she's like, oh my gosh, you've got to turn this into a book. You've got to do it. And then my other friend Barbara Lamb had encouraged me to go ahead, said, you've got to put this in a book. Go. So I ended up writing the book on my 20th year of being in the body. My guides were like, okay, it's time, get this information out. So I'm thinking, oh, okay, that's the other go bigger that they're telling me about. Just do the book. So I wrote the book, I got the book out, and as I was writing it, it kept, taking all these different kind of different forms. One way it would read one way, then the next month it would read something else. So I finally got it massaged to where I was very happy with it, and it was published. And so I thought, oh, okay, great. This can serve as a lifeline. Not everybody is as lucky as I was to have a spiritual teacher to help lead me down this path to let me know who I was. So maybe this book will help and serve as a lifeline to other people who are going through a situation very similar to me. So I was very happy with that. And then I kept hearing, go bigger. I'm like, oh my gosh, what do you mean go bigger?
This is like right out of Field of Dreams. You're hearing the voices. If you build it, they will come.
Yeah, you're right. And so the next thing happened is I had the walk-in conference through Portal to Ascension. And from that, I think that was where the go bigger really began to solidify, because I then formed an organization called Wish Alliance, and people can go to the website wishalliance.org. And we have people from all over the world that come to this site and find out information, meditations, you name it. And guess what? I don't have to do it all. I just had to pull it together. I had to listen to my guides. But there was so much information that they provided to me that even in the book, I just kind of hit the highlights because I didn't want to mix too much cosmology in with the stories about being a walk-in, my story and the stories of other people. So I really wanted to honor their experiences, because I found out through the research that I did for the book that there were different kinds of walk-ins. And so, I mean, the walk-in story itself has taken on a life of its own. And I'm not one that likes to get caught up in the story of your life or what's going on. But I think my story is what I need to share, because it's helping other people to discover who they truly are.
Sheila Seppi is our guest tonight on Spaced Out Radio. That's an incredible, incredible story that you have experienced. For you, coming from the lifestyle that you did previous to this to where you are now, how have you noticed a change within yourself, your own strength, your own dynamic?
Well, before the walk-in, I think that I was a very weak-minded person. I would not have had the strength to have left the marriage. I would not, actually, I was not as articulate as I am now. I think that my IQ was bumped up, I don't know how much, but quite a bit. And the person before was very insecure, very shy, yet had experienced things throughout their life that made them, with a little nurturing, have a lot of independence and the ability to, kind of cultivate and motivate and to pull together people. So the skills of the old soul were actually amplified by the new soul.
Do you think you had a switch of souls?
Absolutely.
Or did your one soul grow up finally?
No, actually, I'm what's called a soul exchange walk-in. And that means that the natal soul, the original soul of this body, actually left and the new soul came in. And I have discovered through my guides, through hypnosis, that sensation that I had of being pulled bolt right up in bed was when the new soul came in, and the energy of that new soul propelled the other soul out. And so that's what kind of thrust me upward in the bed. And so, yes, I am a new. Now, there are different types of walk-ins that, we can talk about a little bit later if you'd like. So, but I am what's called a soul exchange walk-in.
Now, why would this happen? Why would your souls exchange? As we got about 4 minutes to go before we go to break.
Well, in my case, I was very sick. I think that the soul that came into this body originally had a much higher purpose and just sort of got lost, because Earth is a very, very hard planet. When you come from world of spirit, or you come from another planet, and then you come into the density of Earth, we call, we'd always talk about the duality of this planet, but I think the duality that we are experiencing is the balancing of the mind and the heart. And so when we come in, we're more heart centered. But as we integrate into third dimensional reality, we become more mind centered. And I think that the old soul was much more mind centered and really just got off path and became sick, and the body was sick and the mind was sick.
So who makes that choice to change souls? All of a sudden, I mean, it's like having a tune-up at the garage.
Well, the reality of it is I was in a collective, and we can talk about that in a few minutes, but I was in a collective, and when we heard the soul cry out to be released of this body, it was instantaneous. The decision was made that I would be the aspect that came in.
So who are you?
Well, actually, I'm Nuela. And I might start using that name, but I still go by Sheila Seppi. I'm still taking little baby steps.
So I'm amazed, confused, shocked, and in awe at the same time. Okay, because look, I can understand that. Hey, there are some souls that don't want to be here. I think a lot of suicides are from souls who are like, I just don't want to be here anymore, and it's time to go. I don't like it here. I hate to, I don't want to make it sound like I'm mocking, something very tragic or anything like that. But I mean, for you and what you have gone through this whole aspect of soul exchange, how did you know the new soul was going to fit with the old persona and the body and everything?
Actually, the soul that originally inhabited this body had come more from, actually came from the Arcturian planet. And so we can talk about this also, but there has to be inlaid within the physical structure. There's also these etheric templates and blue plates, and in our etheric double, and even within our crystalline body, even within the structures of the brain. The other soul had imprinted information onto the physical body that actually made it easier for me to come in. Because as I said, I came from a collective which was Arcturian, Pleiadian, Mantis, from all over the Andromedan system. There was angelic energy in there. And so when I came in, the aspect that I brought in the firmest was the Arcturian. And that's what made things work in this body.
All right. I'm going to ponder this over the break, because I am literally, we've gone from zero to peak woo in no time here. And this is just amazing. Sheila Seppi is our guest tonight. Walk-ins. Can souls be exchanged? Is it like going to Walmart saying, I don't like this coffee machine, I need a new one? Apparently it happens, people. A lot more than what we think. We're going to learn more from Sheila Seppi at SheilaSeppi.com when we return on Spaced Out Radio. All right, we are clear. All right. Just give me 1 second here, Sheila. Fap, this message is for you, my friend. Very, very sorry for the loss of Grandma Rose. I am absolutely heartbroken to read that she passed on this morning. And I'm going to leave this message up. I'm not putting any other messages up tonight, because the way you introduced Grandma Rose to our show and the way she participated in the memories that we were able to give you two by listening to the show together is something that doesn't sit very lightly with me. I really, really enjoyed that. And, you know, on my birthday show a couple years ago when Grandma Rose, when we called her on the phone, and I remember that's when we first started talking about the original Vegas party that we were going to do before COVID hit. And, you know, talking about how we had to get Grandma Rose down there for the Vegas party. I'm very stunned. I'm very sad for you. And buddy, if I was there, and I'm sure I speak for the entire audience, if we were there, we'd have just a giant, giant hug for you, my friend. Grandma Rose was part of us here at SOR. You know, we adopted her because you allowed us to, and we love her. We're going to miss her. And unfortunately, we didn't get to know her like you knew her as family, but she played a big part in this show thanks to you and thanks to her. So on behalf of everybody here at Spaced Out Radio, I wish you love. I wish you peace. I wish you, you know, a big hug. And please know that our audience will wrap our arms around you to give you a big hug and to support you during this tough time, my friend. We love you, my friend, and we love Grandma Rose, and this show's for her. We're just going to keep that up for the remainder of the show. So if you don't see anything else posted besides what you see right here, that's because this one's for Grandma Rose. We love you, Fapster. We love you, Grandma Rose. God bless. Thank you. Hi, Sheila.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm good. I'm sad. I'm sad right now for Grandma Rose. I really am.
But you know, one of the things I remember about when the souls depart is how liberating it is. It's so much easier to drop our robe and to move to the other side than it is to actually be born. And when that happens, it's just like, it's like this breath of fresh air. And I can remember sometimes it's like, what was I thinking? Why did I do that? You know, but it's a beautiful, beautiful rite of passage.
It really is. And wow. Grandma Rose, I believe, was 97.
Wow.
97. Yeah, our oldest listener. Now I have to find the new oldest listener, which sucks. Because I kind of like Grandma Rose. Let's see here. Yes, good point, Grandmaster. God bless our grandmothers in heaven. Amen to that. I'm still lucky. I have one grandmother left. And she is 93.
Wow. It's awesome.
Mm-hmm. Hi, gorgeous Marie. How are you? Let's see here. What else should we put on here? And all right, look, I need to bring some love and cheer here, man. Love and cheer. Whew. Boom to you, Bama. How are you? So, new soul, eh?
Yep. Well, not too new now. About 23 years. Yeah. I can talk about all the different types of souls. We can go more into what my guides was telling me about the souls and more of that cosmology if you want me to.
We can go anywhere you want to go. We can go wherever you want to go.
Okay.
That's I know the guy who runs the show, so we can take. I have some pull with him.
Okay.
All right, we got 10 seconds. Thank you to Bobby, Fapster, and Vinster for the amazing super chats. Here we go with the second half hour of the show. Second half hour of Spaced Out Radio is now underway. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you so much for tuning us in. We really do appreciate earning your listening ears. I want to remind you that if you missed portions of this show or others, check out our free archives by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot and reading up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show. We continue on tonight with Sheila Seppi. SheilaSeppi.com is her website. Walk-ins and cosmology is where we are going. And I'll tell you, if you miss that first half hour, you're literally going to be pushed over with the amount of woo that's in there, and it is fantastic. It's a great story and a great experience. Sheila, welcome back.
Thanks.
All right. I don't even know where to begin here because there's like 1,001 questions in my head. They're spinning so fast over what you experienced with an exchanging of souls and being hit by what felt like a bolt of lightning as that happened. Did you notice the immediate impact in your change in your health, in the change in your personality and your persona when that moment happened?
Well, when it first happened, literally, I was dazed and confused. And I remained that way, almost like I was numbed out to everything around me, because my mind was being flooded with past life memories that I didn't believe in. And it was being flooded with information that I'd never studied. It was being flooded and downloaded, which I didn't understand. And at the same time, this new soul had already begun to imprint on the physical structure to the point that all of the illnesses that I spoke about were gone. And when I went back to the doctors, they had absolutely no explanation for what was happening. And I'm telling you, Celebrex was my best friend because I could not even open and close my hands. I was walking with a cane. I was in so much pain. I had erythema nodosum and sarcoidosis, and everything, boom, magically gone. My personality changed within 3 months. As I mentioned, I had left the marriage. I had took a new job within another 3 months. My lifestyle, my habits, I began to understand and notice that things about the personality of the person, there were a lot of things, behavioral patterns, those kind of things are what I'm talking about, that needed to be released and let go. And so immediately I did begin to change, and everybody around me noticed, because when you're in pain and you're walking around like this and you're standing upright, my kids noticed it because I was able to not come home from work and just pass out on the couch. I was able to get down on the floor and play with them and run and do all kinds of things that I had not been able to do. And there was a noticeable difference. Everyone noticed. Most people thought I'd lost my mind. I tried to share some of my experience with people, and I learned that I needed to not do that, because I couldn't understand it or accept it, and I couldn't present it to them in a format that could help them to understand.
What did your physicians and doctors say?
They had no explanation, absolutely none. And I had been treated for things for 18 years. And no explanation. They were dumbfounded. And it's like, oh, this is wonderful. I guess our drugs are working. I guess this is helping. But from the time the walk-in came in, everything changed. I didn't need the medications any longer. I didn't need anything. And as a matter of fact, I had to retrain myself how to eat properly, how to hydrate my body. I had to learn how to, basically honor the body that I was in. And so the doctors, they had no explanation.
So you literally were healed from all of your illnesses that you have medical proof from.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, and that's the thing, when I went to the Roanoke Neurological Center, all of those files are still there, the x-rays of where the cancer was located. As a matter of fact, they had told me that they were going to have to actually remove my clavicle bone and replace it with hip bone. I would be in physical therapy for about 6 months learning to re-walk. None of that happened. And that even happened before the walk-in came in. And so it's my belief, because we do have pre-birth plans on the other side, that this soul was preparing itself. These illnesses was the way, the facilitator, in order for that new soul to come in. And so I believe that everyone has these pre-birth plans before we come in. Now, when I was doing the research for the book, honestly, I was looking for community because I didn't know any other walk-ins. And I met some phenomenal people all over the world. And what I found the most fascinating is, even though we share a lot of similarities, our stories were very, very different. And there were different types of walk-ins. And so in addition to a soul exchange, there's what's called a soul infusion. Now, I believe there's two different types of soul infusions taking place on the planet right now. The first of the walk-in type, and I'll talk about the second one in a minute. But when we look at from a walk-in standpoint, the soul infusion is when a part of the energy of the soul remains, part of it leaves, and new energy comes in from what's called the Shantias Khan. So I'm going to stop right there, and I'm going to back up and tell you what that is, okay? So my memories are from my memories, and there could be another walk-in that has similar memories or even something different. And it's going to depend on all of the experiences that we have brought into the collective consciousness. So in my opinion, if you were to put a dot on a piece of paper, that would serve as source or God. And you keep drawing little circles all around that, and that shows the expansion of what happened. So the Big Bang, if you want to say. But within source, then there was a vibratory frequency that was created that became the Om, which was that first sound of creation. And from that, it created what's called the void. And within that void and within everything else that I'm going to talk about, there'd be three components. There's the etheric double, which is where all the choices, all the options, everything that can be is. Then there's what's called the principal overseer template. And that is basically that aspect that really looks over and organizes things. And then there's the collective consciousness of that particular segment. So within the void, then the next step is what's called the creation blueprint. And from that creation blueprint is where everything that's ever been created, whether it's in this universe or other universes, lies. All of that information is there. And within that is where we have creation blueprints or our creation templates. And that's where everything is made. So when it comes to humanity, I'm going to skip everything else, the universes. When it comes to humanity, we have what's called the oversoul templates. And we have the master oversoul, which is where all of the oversouls come from. My oversoul, your oversoul, everyone out there who's listening, that's where their oversouls come from. Then you have your universal oversoul, the cosmic or galactic oversoul. You have a solar system, a planetary, and an individual learning soul, which might be compassion or love. But from that, you have your own individual oversoul, what my guides called the Shantias Khan. And the Shantias Khan is like it is our oversoul, but it's also like a cloud storage for us. It holds all of our Akashic records. It holds every thought, every action, every memory, anything that ever influenced any aspect of that soul is there. And when we incarnate, the souls are so large, only a small portion can incarnate into a physical body. Remember, I came from a collective. And so I was just a tiny little aspect, like a grain of sand on the beach that came in to this body. And so from that, when that aspect incarnated, that portion that is the closest to the oversoul or to the Shantias Khan, as it becomes denser and denser and denser, it's called our higher self. And as that attaches to a physical body, then that becomes the soul of this lifetime, or it's kind of like the personality of this lifetime. And as all of that is happening, the energy that makes it happen and that fills up that auric field of the body, that's called our spirit. That's what enlivens everything. But that portion that attaches is what's called the soul. And so when you begin to chart this out, because we are very linear thinking on this planet, and when we chart it out and we start with one circle and then we have another one and we have another one and we have another one, and then we try to label it, which is still kind of ridiculous because we can't label, but for our minds we label these things. You can very easily see how an aspect of a soul could incarnate, and when a portion of it leaves, how it would go back up into that Shantias Khan and pull information down. Now, in my case, I even came from a different Shantias Khan, a different oversoul than what the oversoul of this body was. So with that infusion, it brings more of that energy down into the body. So that's the soul infusion. Then we can have what's called an overlay. And so you still have the soul, and then another soul comes in and kind of enshrouds that other soul like a neoprene suit. But that soul then begins to be the dominant factor while the other soul rests. It heals. It may have to leave for a time and it comes back. But eventually, the souls will either become one soul or the overlay soul will leave. And then we have what's called a braid. And the braid literally is when two souls intertwine with each other and they occupy the same space. Sometimes there's conflict with that because both of the souls are aware of what's occurring at the same time. The other type of soul that I identify is called a jumper. And a jumper is when you have a very temporary soul that comes in and it may help someone through a very tragic situation or through an illness. It may come in at a time when a person is experiencing severe emotional or physical trauma. And then that soul will leave. But they only come in, they could act as a muse. You never know. So they only come in for a certain experience and then they leave. And sometimes there are people who have had multiple jumpers and they can share those experiences. Then one that I find the most fascinating was what was I identified as soul layering. And this is when you have multiple aspects that of the soul that come in and they sort of pancake and layer on top of each other. And at some point in time, there could be an automobile accident, an illness, a surgery, but one of those other aspects begins to come forward, and then the personality aspect that was dominant begins to recede. And so there's like this soul dance. So it could be that people would have different aspects from different planets. And because our souls, like I said, is only one grain of sand on the beach, and that beach is our oversoul, all of those other little grains of sand can be that still are us, can be having lifetimes either on this planet or in this universe, on other planets, in other universes, in other dimensions. We can be having multiple lifetimes all at one time. And that is phenomenal to me.
The whole story is just, honestly, this is heavy. This is really heavy with everything that's going on. I want to take a quick step back here because with the soul exchange that you went through, how did you know, or how how did you know that that new soul was going to be able to adapt to your body, your lifestyle, give you new life, give you healing, give you everything? Because I mean, there's a lot of people, man. Like I look at my mother, who is very ill, a very ill lady over the last 20 some years. I would love for her to get a soul exchange, bring in something new in order to help heal her up. Like, how do the souls choose who gets a new one and who doesn't?
This is all decided before the natal soul comes into a body. This is all decided before the life takes place. And so before an individual soul enters the body, a birth plan is developed. And it might say, okay, I'm going to be a spiritual teacher in this lifetime, and this is what I want to achieve, and this is what I'm going to do, and I'm going to meet Joe Blow when I'm 20 years old, and we're going to form a partnership and create this wonderful organization, blah, blah, blah. So we decide these things on the other side. And all of these are our lessons, and they're also things that we want to accomplish for the growth and edification of our soul. And so you can decide, two souls can confer on the other side and decide that there will be a walk-in situation. People on the planet right now, I believe, because of all of the spiritual work that they're doing, because of all the meditation, because of all of the hard work that they're putting in, I believe more and more people are calling in aspects of their higher self. And I think that's a soul infusion of sorts. But you cannot just lay in bed and say, hey, I really want to walk in. It has to be something that was already preordained before you were born. And so this mind had nothing to do with it. It was on a soul level.
Right. Okay. I get that. And how did you get the definition for all of the different souls that there are?
When I was writing the book and I identified different types of scenarios, I got a lot of information from my guides. Just like I got a lot of information about the Shantias Khan and how the universe is created and laid out, and those different levels of consciousness. My guides brought that information into me because I'll be honest, until I wrote this book and my editor had the first draft in their hands, I never even looked at a book about walk-ins. I never read anything about walk-ins because I think my guides kind of had this moratorium on me where I couldn't read but certain types of information because the information I shared had to be my own information without bias and prejudice from outside sources. And so, when I identified everything in the book, it's because my guides gave me that information and helped me to come up with languaging.
Now, I have heard of walk-ins on a spiritual level, whether it's extraterrestrial or of the spiritual side, coming in and taking over a body. That's kind of what happens in channeling. That also is what happens, when somebody becomes possessed. What's the difference between that scenario and what you went through?
Okay, everything is within agreement with what I go through, much like a channeler. A channeler will have a soul agreement with the entity, the spiritual aspect of what's coming into them in order to come out. Some people channel through writing, some people channel verbally, some people receive information through dreams, prophetic dreams, and those types of things, but there still has to be a soul agreement. Now, a possession is something totally different. And the reality of it is, even though people would not in this lifetime agree to something like that, there has to be some kind of agreement before anything happens to the body and to the soul. And so maybe with the possession, there was a lesson that needed to be learned. But that entity will come in And that's more of the hostile takeover. A walk-in is an agreed upon situation, even though at the time I felt like it was a hostile takeover because I had no idea what was going on except for that I was healed, which was very, very awesome to me. And so a possession is a non-agreement, whereas walk-ins are always an agreed upon situation.
Okay, so it's nothing nefarious that can get into you.
I'll be honest with you. I have never, ever, ever met or talked to a walk in that did not come in to improve a person or a situation. The walk ins that I know that I have talked to, we all had a mission. We all agreed and signed up for a walk in program to come in to help humanity on some level. So, like with my case, I was to come in and to be a way shower. And I could not really do that. I had my family and I got my family raised. And while my family was being raised, I was learning healing modalities. I was establishing my business. I was kind of laying the groundwork. And once my children were raised, then I could really dive into what my soul's mission was. Also, when I came in, I had to clear whether it was behavioral patterns, thought patterns. I had to develop an entire neurological system within this body in order for me to do the things that I need to do. And so there was a lot of soul imprinting that had to take place. And so the vibration of this soul was much higher than the vibration of the other soul. And so anytime we are experiencing a higher vibration, those things that are of a lower frequency, they have to go. And so I had to get all of this stuff cleared out first so that I had a solid foundation in order to do my work.
Sheila Seppi is our guest tonight on Spaced Out Radio. We're going to go to break in about 90 seconds, and I just want to remind the audience we will take your questions when we come back from the break. Are you happier now that you've gone through this experience?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I have peace, joy. I never have issues sleeping. My mind is quiet. I don't have that, chatter that a lot of people describe that goes on inside their head. And I have a knowing. And I know I am led. I remember being on the other side, so I have no fear of death. I remember what it's like to be born. I remember these things. And so these are the types of things that I like to share with people, because the other part of my mission is I like to give people hope so that they know that they have comfort, because fear is such an illusion that we get sucked into, and it's so low vibrating that if we're vibrating at a higher frequency and we start experiencing fear, it's going to begin to lower our vibration. And I'm here to help people to spiritually evolve.
Well, I remember that we got to take a break here at the top of the hour. Walk-ins, cosmology, and your questions next. If you're in one of our chat rooms or on Twitter at hashtag Spaced Out Radio, as we're going to get into more soul contact, soul retrieval, soul exchanges, and sold out. Maybe. I just threw that in there just because I thought it would sound kind of catchy. Sheila Seppi is our guest tonight on Spaced Out Radio. SheilaSeppi.com is her website, and you can grab her book there as well. I like it. I'm having fun tonight. I hope you are too. We return with Hour 2 and Sheila Seppi next on Spaced Out Radio. All right, we are clear. I'm just going to put your microphone on mute. We're going to step away for just a couple minutes, okay? All right, be right back. All right. I am back. Hello, Sheila.
Hello.
How are you?
Awesome.
Good stuff. All right. So I know there were a bunch of audience questions right before the break. You know, we go to questions in hour 2. So I will get you when we come back with the music to retype those questions in if you're in our YouTube chat room or on Twitter. And we will go from there. And I'll make sure to ask Sheila your questions. And we'll have some fun. I'm already having a blast tonight. By the way, the Tampa Bay Lightning have won the Stanley Cup, 4-1 over the Montreal Canadiens. Vive les habitants. Great run there, Montreal. 28 years and counting since the Stanley Cup was last won in Canada. Media Fox, no, I have not watched Cosmic Hoax yet. A lot of those, I haven't checked Netflix to see if it's on there. So I'll have to do that. I don't usually support Stephen Greer, so that's usually that. Thank you, everyone, for tuning on in. Hello, gorgeous Jennifer Hawkins. Jason1331, welcome to the show. And the lovely Jordan Pettit has arrived. I want to say a big thank you to Bobby, to Fapster, and to Vin for the awesome super chats. It's a great way to support what we do on this show on a nightly basis. And a big thank you to all the veterans who are tuning on in, as well as all of our regulars in the chat room. And thank you. We already have bred the next Gretzky. That's Connor McDavid. But the next one's coming. They're always coming. Here we go, everyone. We got 3 seconds before we launch.
You're listening to Spaced Out Radio with Dave Scott. Follow Dave on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio. And on Facebook, Spaced Out Radio Show.
Hour number 2 of Spaced Out Radio is now underway. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us. We really do appreciate earning your listening ears wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. Thank you to everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America and digitally on TalkStream Live, Revolution Radio, and KPNL. All of our archives are free by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Just do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Fustian. Fustian is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the Clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot and reading up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show. We continue on tonight with Sheila Seppi, walk-ins and cosmology. What's it like to have a spirit and soul change in your body? Much like a shift in hockey where, oh, well, it's my turn. Let's get into it. Got to make my time due here. Sheila, we love your story. We love your book. Welcome back.
Thank you.
We're going to kick off with audience questions here, if you don't mind.
Sure.
And we're going to start off with James. Do you have important dreams that help with life decisions?
I do not. When I go to bed, I must leave my body immediately. I do not remember dreaming. I go to bed, I wake up, and that's that. My guidance comes throughout the day. If I have a question, I just ask and I immediately have an answer. If there's something that I need to know, it's downloaded and I access that instantaneously.
Oh, wow. Okay. Let's go to Christy. How can you spiritually evolve if you have a soul walk-in? Isn't that cheating? Shouldn't the original soul have to figure out how to manage incarnation on its own in order to evolve?
Personally, I think that when a walk-in comes in, like in my case, I volunteered to come in. And the soul that was in here before, apparently, if you want to look at if they created a marketing plan for themselves, they had finished it. So a soul does not leave until it's actually ready to leave, because we have those various windows throughout our life when we can leave. If a soul needs to exit, we've got various exit strategies that are built in to our birth plan. And so, the soul did figure it out and it did leave. And if I had not come in, that body would have expired because it was sick. And I would have left 3 children. I would have left my family. And when I came in, I assumed a lot of the duties, if you will, of the other soul plus my own. And so I had to work through those duties first before I was able to get on with my own mission.
Interesting. Okay. Bomber is asking, is the birth plan the same as the soul contract? Who all is involved in this planning process?
So a birth plan, contracts are actually created within that birth plan. And so let's say within this soul's birth plan, if you will, that there was a contract that you and I would be having this conversation on your radio show tonight. Who's involved in all of that are various aspects of you, parts of your oversoul, your guides, your teachers, and all of those individuals who will have something at play within your life. So you have to understand these birth plans are created long before a soul ever incarnates, because all of the players have to be incarnated on the planet when that birth plan begins to unfold.
Interesting. Okay. So while we wait for more questions from our audience, I'm curious, as this plan plays out, how many people are actually being affected by this soul exchange?
Well, with my soul exchange, all the people in my life were affected by it, but they were affected in a positive way. My mom asked me when I told her I was a walk-in, she says, "Does this mean that I'm not your mom?" And I said, "No, you're still my mom. You're just my mom to a new and improved version." And so every person, every relationship that I have is healthier. And I'll be honest with you, when I came in, and I come from a very large family, I had no attachment to any of my cousins, uncles, aunts, anything. I only was attached to my children, to my mom, my dad, and my sister, and that's it. And over the past 23 years, I have developed relationships which are much stronger and much healthier than the relationships, let's say, with a cousin than I had before the walk-in. And so, I believe that this walk-in has really enhanced the relationships that I have with everybody in my life.
Polar Eclipse is asking, Sheila, how do you get back into your body before waking back up?
Okay. When the soul incarnates, remember I said it attaches to the body, and what we call it the silver cord. Okay. So the soul can actually leave the body. There's a portion that stays enough to animate the physical body, because when the entire soul leaves, then death to the physical body occurs. But as long as that silver cord is attached, the soul can leave, go out as often as it wants. But everyone, whether you remember it or not, everyone leaves the physical body at night. And so there's just a knowing, and that comes, you come back in to the physical body. If you've ever been awakened by an alarm clock and you're kind of sort of shaky, or if you wake up in the middle of the night and you feel like you're sort of shaking, that's when the soul comes back in way too quick into the body. Because when that physical body is awakened, that soul comes back in. But the soul typically comes in before you wake up.
Okay, let me follow that up with this. When your soul left and that new soul came in, and if everybody's soul kind of goes on its own little journey each and every night, how do you make sure that other souls don't come in and take its place? Because you now have a recorded track record of this.
The recorded track record, however, though, was upon agreement. And the silver cord, now, let me explain a little bit. Before this aspect of the soul was able to come in, there had to be almost like an etheric operation that took place. I do not have the same chakra system that the other body had. I do not have the same emotional, mental, physical, spiritual body that the other person had. That all had to be changed out over a period of time. And so when this soul came in, all of those things were already in place. So when we travel at night, each one of us has all of those aspects of us still in play within that etheric body. And so, a lot of people are afraid that if they leave at night, that something will happen, and just cover yourself with protection. Ask for protection. If you astral travel during the day, ask for protection. If you do any type of out of body work, always ask for protection. Ask your guides to come. Ask your higher self to send more of its essence to fortify the field. Because if there's a lower vibrational entity, unless your physical body is in low enough vibration that matches that other vibration, nothing can happen anyway.
All right, let's move to another question. James is asking, do you have any thoughts on DMT or not your subject regarding soul communication?
DMT, in my opinion, can help you access or obtain quicker information that can help to uncalcify a pineal if it has been calcified. But using DMT for regular soul contact, I don't think is really necessary, because all anyone has to do is drop into silence and just ask. We're at a point in time right now where the frequencies are shifting and changing so much on this planet that we all are raising our frequencies. If we're on Gaia, we're vibrating with her, and we're all moving because Gaia is moving through a spiritual evolution. And a lot of people talk about this as being the shift. Some texts call it, the Kali Yuga. The Bible refers to it as, revelation times. But there's a shifting of energy that's taking place on this planet, and we are shifting. We're calling in higher vibrations into our cellular structure right now. We're being inundated with more and more light codes that are waking us up to the essence of who we truly are. So DMT can serve as a catalyst for change, a catalyst to allow us to, like I said, decalcify the pineal and maybe move into a next step. But you don't need the DMT to keep moving into different steps. Once that pineal is uncalcified, then all you need to do is drop into the essence of who you truly are, because you're much more powerful than, all of us are more powerful than we even believe.
Sheila Seppi is our guest tonight on Spaced Out Radio. Let's get to a question from Rooted in Gorgeous Sacredness. And where did that question go here? Just my chat room just jumped on me. Do you remember walk-in past life details? Do you remember old soul multidimensional lives?
What I remember as far as the past lives, honestly, were the past lives of the cellular memories of this body. As I have integrated more fully into this body, I came from a collective. And so I didn't have any past life association with this physical form. So a lot of times when people are remembering past lives, it's because that soul is very strongly imprinting on the cellular structure, and it's pulling that DNA information that can be passed down through lineages. It can be imprinted from the soul, and that soul begins to remember. Let's say if you're walking, if you go to a different state and you walk across a piece of property that you had maybe owned in a past life, there's going to be a resonance and you're going to be able to feel that. And so I think everyone remembers their past lives differently. But as for me, I stopped remembering those past lives. But yes, I do. I remember there was a time, I guess you would say, like back in biblical days, there was a time when the earth was beginning to form, that we were still in etheric form, where the spirits would kind of come in and inhabit a body and leave, whether it was a butterfly or an animal or whatever it was. I remember several lifetimes of medicine people, being medicine people in indigenous tribes. I remember one of the past lives, which I was on the Mississippi River in a riverboat with this person called Riverboat Charlie, and I think that Annie McGee was the name, and I was shot. There was a card game that was going on, and there was a fight that broke out, and somehow or the other I got in front of the fire and I was shot right in the stomach. And when I started remembering all of these past lives, even to this day, this physical body now, which it didn't have before, I remembered that it now has what looks like a birthmark, which is very faint, that's kind of like buckshot. But those are not this soul's memories. That was the physical body memories.
Spanish Fly is asking, what happens when somebody dies accidentally or violently?
Honestly, when we die, it's always agreed upon. And I know that some people, even my students, would get angry when I say, okay, we've all agreed to these situations and scenarios for learning. And if it's not for our learning, we're providing an opportunity for families, friends, whatever, to learn. Maybe they're learning unconditional love with a very violent act. But these are agreed upon because to the soul, it's just another experience. And that's what this whole life is about, is just experiences. And when you get to the other side, there's no right and there's no wrong. Down here, there's right and wrong because that's what we've all agreed to. This is unacceptable. But on the other side, that doesn't exist. It's like, oh, we're going to create this scenario for X, Y, and Z to occur.
Let's move on here. Jason has a question for you, Sheila.
Uh-huh.
Is astral projection also the soul temporarily leaving the body? It sure feels like it.
There is an aspect of the soul that does leave the body during astral projection. And that portion is like the consciousness. If you'll remember earlier in the show, I was talking about whether it's our soul, whether it's the creation blueprint, whether it's the universal oversoul. There's those three aspects to us. There's the etheric double, there is that overseer, and there's that collective consciousness. And to my knowing, that part that actually is leaving is a portion of that etheric double of ourselves, because that's what moves into the astral realm.
All right. Do you believe in reincarnation then? This is from Vinny.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I do. I mean, I remember back before the walk-in, no, I did not. And I remember Shirley MacLaine's book had come out on a limb, and people were talking about it, and I didn't want anything to do with it. I thought it was the biggest bunch of hooey I'd ever heard. But once this new soul came in, I knew it to be a fact. And so absolutely, I believe in reincarnation.
I want to believe in it. I think there's a lot of proof out there, a lot of strangeness. The one case that really trips me out was of a child in India who claimed in a previous life was murdered and then came back on a quick reincarnation and actually picked out the suspect that killed them in the previous life, and that person was arrested and jailed for life. And I remember it being pretty big news on that, and that story has always stuck with me, But I also wonder too, when you reincarnate, do you have to reincarnate as a person? Can you reincarnate as a butterfly or an eagle or a sperm whale or anything like that?
You could, if that was the lesson or the experience that you needed to have. But because of, and I don't want to say hierarchy, but the way that the souls are structured, our souls come from a totally different creation template than, say, like an animal soul. Yet the oversoul could choose any of the experiences. And so, yes, you could come back as a butterfly if you wanted to experience that, but it's not necessary. That would be kind of like a freebie lifetime. You wanted to just come and have an experience. Kind of like what I remembered that the previous body had done. It came in to animals and then it left. So it would be kind of like a jumper.
Glenn is asking, Sheila, do you think that our lives are predetermined then?
I think we do have a parameter that's set, but okay, everything, even remember, everything has this etheric double to it. So our oversoul has an etheric double, and within that etheric double are all of the choices that we will ever make. It's like a grocery store. We go to the grocery store and we choose X, Y, and Z. But the choices are within the grocery store, if that makes sense. There's a lot of choices, and we do have the free will to make those choices within the grocery store.
Lynn is asking, how are you able to recall past lives? Were you hypnotized?
No, I was not. The only hypnotism that has happened, I have done with Barbara Lamb, and it was 100% to do with the walk-in. The past lives that I remembered came in instantaneously because when this new soul came in, it began to shift and change the cellular memory that was within this body. And this soul was imprinting on the body. And so as it was imprinting a new and higher vibration, all of those memories began to come up. And I had those memories for probably the first 5 or 6 years.
Did you ever notice in your physical change or other changes that people whom you've interviewed about this, any sort of change in anger, in violence, in attitude, in being very terse and losing that commonality and that humanity?
Part of what makes us humans is the emotions that we are afforded to experience. And as much as we are a soul, the soul inhabits this human body. Just like when you get into your car and you drive it to work, you could say your body is the car for the soul. And so anytime that we have experiences in our life, it's going to affect the car or the body.
But every now and again, you need a tune-up as well. Not an engine replacement like you and others have had.
Right. So we switched drivers. We actually switched drivers. Throughout our lifetime, our guides will work with us to help to upgrade. And humanity as a whole is upgrading the light codes and the frequency that they're bringing in from their own oversoul. Okay, so they're continuing to grow and to expand. And that is the upgrade.
Where do they grow and expand?
Well, the idea...
You know what? I'm going to get you to hold on. I was so into this conversation, I lost track of time. We're going to go to break here at the bottom of the hour. SheilaSeppi.com is our guest website. We'll be back with more Spaced Out Radio right after this. All right, we are clear. Sorry about that. I just got really into the conversation and lost track of time.
Not a problem. I mean, there's a lot of information. Uh-oh.
Huge amount.
Hold on a second. This computer. Whew. I'm glad I saw that. This computer has been scheduled to go to sleep. It's like, no.
That wouldn't be good.
No, it would not. Yeah, I mean, gosh, there's just so much to try to share with people. It's like I keep trying to categorize. If I start here, it'll make it easier to understand over here. But, you know, it just has to come out the way that it does.
True, I get that. I get that. Let me just see here. This is fun. This is fun.
Yeah, it is. It's 11:30 here, and I'm usually in bed asleep much earlier. But when I get to talking, it's like I get all energized, and so it is fun.
I'm up for another 2.5 hours. But I get to sleep in tomorrow, so I'm okay with that.
That's good. I have clients tomorrow, but not until after lunch.
Good evening, Judy Wheeler. You're looking gorgeous tonight. Let's see. Oob to Joe's Maine. You've got pickles. Super Duke, good to have you here. Lovely Linda Bennett has arrived.
If it's okay, I would like to mention something more about the Wish Alliance and how people can get involved.
Absolutely.
Perfect.
Absolutely. The lovely and talented Laura Tarnowski has arrived. Everybody give her a wave. We've got a couple minutes left.
Okay.
Little Deborah, nice to have you here. All right, we've got about 1 minute here. Big thank you to Michael, to Bobby, to Fapster, and Vinster for the amazing super chats. It's a great way to support what we do on this show on a nightly basis. So thank you so much for that. Really do appreciate it. Thank you to all the veterans listening to this show, as well as all of our regulars in the chat room here on a nightly basis. We love you. We thank the world that you are here enjoying what we do on a nightly basis on Spaced Out Radio. Sheila Seppi is our guest tonight. We're going to get going here in about 10 seconds. So sit back, relax, enjoy, because the story continues right after this. We passed the halfway point of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you so much for joining us. Really do appreciate earning your listening ears. Want to remind you that if you miss portions of this show or others, check out our free archives by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot and reading up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show. From SheilaSeppi.com, author, researcher, public speaker, Sheila Seppi is with us talking about walk-ins and cosmology. What's it like to have spirit exchange themselves within your body? And thank you so much for joining us, Sheila. We really do appreciate it.
Thanks. Yeah, I have to say, if it hadn't happened to me, I would not believe it. I would not have believed something like this was true.
I agree with you. I totally agree with you. And I think any of us who have had strange, weird experiences would agree that, you know, it's always one of those things. If it didn't happen to me, I would have never believed it. Mm-hmm. And it's such a poor argument, but it's a truthful argument at the same time. And I'm sure you're like me or anyone else who's had experiences where you just hate using that sentence. Sounds so infomercial, but yet it's true. Yet it's true.
Yes.
All right. Let's go to a question from VPXM. Sheila, when did you notice you could travel? Before or after the soul travel?
As far as the soul traveling, that all came after. I mean, everyone travels at night, but I became consciously aware of it after the walk-in occurred, because one of the things that helped to anchor me into this physical body was not just the counseling that I was receiving from my spiritual advisor, but it was also the shamanic teachings that I was learning, because my teacher and counselor was of Hopi lineage, and she's like the seventh daughter, the first, you know. And so she had all of these indigenous teachings, and part of that was learning to consciously travel in the upper world and in the lower world. And it's there that I really found my freedom, and that I was able to anchor and begin to integrate more fully into my body, because I was able to meet my guides and to work with them there. But everyone travels at night.
Where do we travel to?
We travel, if we're from another planet, we'll travel back to our home planet. We may travel to a different dimension. We may travel to halls of learning. We may just meet up with our friends and have a good time at night.
Interesting. All right. Let's go to Linda, who is asking, Sheila, are you talking about meditation when the soul leaves when we sleep?
No, I'm talking about plain sleep. When we go to bed at night, the soul will travel. When we meditate within the astral realm. Okay. And so that's typically in the shaman, to use shamanic language for that, that would be like in the middle world. That's where we're traveling to when we meditate. We can still meet with our guides. Sometimes we will travel into different realms. We'll go into different dimensions. We'll meet different beings that will actually work with us. But that all depends on the level of meditation that you're able to achieve.
Okay, I love this question from James, who's asking, is there a visible highway of traveling people?
You know, there might be. I don't recall one, but I am sure that there is. I am sure there is, because I know that there are different gateways and portals around our universe. And if we want to go from point A to point B, a lot of times we'll have to travel through a portal. And if we're going through that portal, I'm sure there's other souls going through there as well.
Can you tell now from your experiences if somebody has had a soul shift? Like, for instance, many people who have had extraterrestrial experiences and alien encounters can look at someone and say, okay, that person's a contactee. Can you do that with soul swappers?
A lot of times I can, yes. And I've had people to walk up to me that were walk-ins and say, when did you get here? And I'm like, oh, about 10 minutes ago. No. When did you get here? About 10 minutes ago. No, when did you arrive in this body? Oh, you know, and when that first happened to me, it really threw me back. But yes, I can tell that. And a lot of times, a lot of the work that I do with people, they will think that they are a walk-in. And a lot of times through our sessions, we'll discover what has happened to them. They've actually had like a spiritual awakening, which can be very similar to a walk-in experience. But the spiritual awakening occurs as a direct result of all of their hard work.
Who makes the rules for this? Is it when you're astral traveling or you're talking to your spirit? Who makes the rules of what can happen and what can't?
Well, as far as I'm concerned, and my memory says, when we are in a particular universe, there are universal rules that are in place. We don't make those, but there are universal rules that are set up. And I can say that the universal rules for this universe will be different from another universe. Even within different galaxies, they can tend to shift and change just a little bit. But all of those are set forth in those creation blueprints and within those templates.
Laura is asking, how do you know if your guides are good or bad?
Well, most of the time you'll be able to tell if they're bringing you higher spiritual knowledge and they are helping you, they're going to be good. Now, a lot of times you'll have malevolent souls that really are just kind of tricksters. And so they will present themselves to be good, but you have to see the results of what they're telling you. And the other thing is, if you ask, are you of the light? They have to answer. Are you of the light? Ask them 3 times. And if they do not answer you, yes, they will be gone. And so I always teach my students that when you're inviting a new guide into your life, you need to be very discerning. And you ask them, are you my true guide? Are you my true guide? Are you my true guide? Yes. Great. Are you of the light? And then they have to answer that as well.
Have you ever come across negative entities that have wanted to take over your body and your soul?
I can honestly say I haven't. I have done house clearings where there were mischievous spirits I don't do that anymore, because the reality of it is, my guide said, what makes you think that they don't have a right to be here? Maybe that's part of their soul's growth, because just because we're disembodied doesn't mean we're not growing. There are many, many forms of growth that takes place, and we are all souls on some level, even the
Okay.
negative one.
All right. Well, let's go to another question here. And this one comes from Nikki. What kind of sessions are you doing right now?
Well, we do actually have one-on-one healing sessions that we provide in the office. But as far as long distance wise, there's a couple different types. One of them is for the physical and emotional and mental bodies, and then the other is the spiritual work that I do. And that's kind of a one-on-one session where people will come to me and, talk to me about things going on in their life. So it's kind of a spiritual advisement. But like tomorrow, I have a lady coming in to the office, and I'm going to be working within her etheric template of the body and activating her crystalline grids so that she can bring in more light, and she can begin to work with those various aspects of herself. And so I do crystalline grid activations. I do spiritual work with people. I help them to identify their spiritual guides, to learn shamanic journey, etc.
All right. Let's go over to Michelle here, who's asking, where does soul retrieval fit into this?
Okay. Soul retrieval, if you'll remember earlier when I was talking about soul infusion, where there's a portion of the soul that stays, but a portion remains, but then a higher aspect of that comes back in. Well, when you have a soul retrieval, what happens is, through life experiences, you have had different aspects of the soul that have left, and they can be trapped in a traumatic situation in a past. They can be in the lower world. They can be in the upper world. No, they'd be particularly in the lower world. But you can go and you call those aspects of yourself back. And there's a process, and I perform soul retrievals for people as well, but there's a process where you gather all of those aspects back and place them back into the body, and people will feel immediate changes.
Bomber is asking, how can you tell the difference between a near-death experience and a soul walk-in?
Well, I think that in my case, it was kind of a near-death experience. I don't remember going to the other side, but there had to be an instant. There had to be that opening for this new soul to come in order for that old soul to leave. But with a near-death experience, the majority of the people that I have talked to, they have very, very, very firm knowings or memories, or they can remember conversations that they had on the other side. And so when you have a walk-in is coming in to the body under various circumstances. And several of the people in the book that I wrote, Walk-ins in the Cosmology of the Soul, did have actual near-death experiences.
Vinster is wondering if you believe in the Kundalini.
Absolutely. And if someone has a Kundalini awakening, they will experience a lot of the same things that I've been talking about tonight. But that newness within themselves, when there's more, when more of that energy unfolds, it activates more of the spiritual essence within that body.
How about deja vu?
I think that deja vu has a lot to do with, well, several things. First off, there can be a glitch in the matrix. There can be like I mentioned earlier, if you walk across a piece of property that you have owned or a piece of property that you have been on in a past life. There may have a memory. And then sometimes it's a merging of timelines, because we do have parallel lives that are going on at the same time. So if I'm doing something in this life and the other aspect is doing something in another life, or the other Sheila's doing something at the same time, there's going to be a ripple effect. There's going to be a vibration, and you're going to feel that in the body.
Jim is wondering, do walk-ins such as yourself bring with them huge amounts of spiritual energy?
In my case, I did. Other people bring a lot of spiritual energy. It just manifests differently. Like for me, mine, I'm more of a spiritual teacher, a way shower, that type of thing. I can think of other people who came in. We're all in service to humanity. So some people came in and they're a nurse. Some people have come in and they're doctors. Some people come in and they're authors. Some people come in and they are setting up services for children. But every walk-in, I've talked to a lot of people that thought they were walk-ins that, in my opinion, were not walk-ins, and we worked through that with them, and they discovered that on their own. But a lot of times, all of the walk-ins that I have talked to are always in service to humanity.
Does Mandela effect play into this?
I think we experience that. I don't think that's what causes a walk-in scenario, but I think we do all experience that because we're looking at different timelines.
So those timelines then, are they about different dimensions crossing over?
In a way, yes, because they're actually still third dimensional experiences that are happening at the same time. They're just in a different plane, or they're in a different octave, because within each dimension, within the third dimension that we're currently in, but actually I think that we're in the fourth dimension, getting ready to move into the fifth dimension. One of the things that happens is there's a vibratory frequency shift within each dimension that goes from lower to higher, and those are called octaves. And so you can experience different octaves in different dimensions all at the same time.
What if we run into ourself, in a different dimension?
That happens really all the time. There are, we have multiple aspects of ourselves because we all of those aspects make up. They come from within that oversoul. And so, like in my case, I have knowledge of having an aquatic life going on at this time. And I know that I have an aspect of my soul that is in Brazil, that is an older man who is a shamanic practitioner. And when I found that out, I asked my guides if I could go and meet that person, and they advised against it. And so you can be having multiple lifetimes on this planet, and you can be having multiple lifetimes in other dimensions. You can be having multiple lifetimes in other planes or densities. You can be having other lifetimes in different universes, and you can meet up with those other aspects of yourself. And there are times when some of the guides that I work with are actually aspects of myself. And when I incarnated, the part that incarnated within me now is an aspect of my higher self.
Is there a God that controls the shots?
I believe absolutely, yes. And with God, I call that source energy, and everything emanates from that source energy. And earlier I was talking about, if you put a dot on a piece of paper, that's source, and you just keep drawing rings around source, and those are the multiple layers, the multiple experiences, the creation blueprints and templates that's coming into fruition. And within that source, it's my belief that what we call the great central sun is the energetic light that emanates off of source.
Do the spirits or the souls have to do a check-in with that source of light, that information, in order to swap like what happened to you?
No, all of that is determined on the other side by aspects of yourself, your guides, your teachers, etc. Source energy is from which everything came, and everything that we do, remember, has that collective consciousness component, and it just keeps going up the ladder, so to speak. And everything that we do helps to edify source, because we are an aspect of source. We all came from that source energy. But
Okay,
I don't see source. I don't see source as sitting up there with a pen and piece of paper saying you can do this and you can't do that. That's kind of all the lower management sort of stuff. And there are federations, there are councils, there are different hierarchies, there are, groups, universal groups, there are galactic cosmic groups, there are solar system groups, but they themselves are not the ones that govern the information of the soul or the decisions of the soul.
How much control does free will have?
Well, if you'll remember, if you've drawn the dot and you've gone around and you've made all those little circles, and you come to what's called the master oversoul, and there's that etheric template of the master oversoul. Every choice that any soul could ever make possibly is within that etheric template, and then it would come down next to the universal oversoul, and within that universal oversoul there is an etheric template, and all of the choices that can be made within that particular universe are then within that template. And so those templates, as I said, let's use the grocery store. The grocery store is the template. The items in the grocery store are the choices that we can make. So we do have control over what we choose, but all the choices are already there for us.
Makes sense. But do we have someone guiding us? Is that what our spirit guides are for? Or do we have that free will to say to our spirit guides, look, this is the path I want to take. It may not be the right path, but this is where I'm going.
We can most certainly do that, because we do have that free will. Our guides are there to assist us. They cannot force us to do anything. They're there to assist us. They're probably sitting there like, oh my gosh, what are they doing now? Kind of thing. But you also have to remember, in another lifetime, you could have been my guide, or I could have been your guide, because guides are still entity. They're still aspects of a higher self, or of the Shantias Khan oversoul, that are still growing and evolving. And so all of us are constantly growing, constantly evolving. And one of the things it's just kind of like shifting gears here, but I really want to make sure that I talk about this, is as we grow and evolve on the planet, one of the things, as I've mentioned, I wanted to do was to be a way shower. And I've done that in so many different ways. But I think for me, the biggest accomplishment. Yes, writing the book was very important, but it also served as a catalyst for moving me somewhere else. And that was to be the founder of the Wish Alliance. And so if anyone out there is feeling a need for community, whether it is a spiritual nature, whether they are looking for their galactic family connections, maybe they want to have some type of a DNA soul imprinted blueprint provided to them. There are people that are listed on the wishalliance.org site that can help you. And that's all under the ambassador section.
Wonderful. Wonderful. I'm going to get you to hold on right there as we have Sheila Seppi for another half an hour here on Spaced Out Radio to kick off hour number 3. Then we'll get to the SOR News Wire and the Thought of the Dave. Stay tuned. Spaced Out Radio continues right after this. All right. I'm going to just run my dogs out one final time here. I'll be right back, okay?
Absolutely.
Okay. I'm just going to mute your mic, and here we go. All right, I am back. Got a moth flying around the studio here, which is always fun. Hello, Major Lee. How are you? like, why don't I hear her? Because I got you on mute. That's why.
Yeah, I want to be sure to mention that we have James Twyman as our speaker tomorrow night, and it's always open. There's no charge.
Perfect.
Alliance.
Sure.
Thank you.
Not a problem. We'll lead into that. Excuse me.
What time is it where you are?
11:04. I'm an hour
Okay.
behind you. We have about a minute and a half here. All right. Thank you to Michael, Bobby, Fabster, and Vinny for the awesome super chats tonight. Really appreciate it. Thank you to everybody who's new to our subscriber list. We appreciate you. We're going to get going here in about 3 seconds. Stay tuned.
Would you like to connect with us? Head to spacedoutradio.com for all your latest show info. Now, back to Dave Scott and SOR.
Third and final hour of Spaced Out Radio is underway tonight. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us. Really do appreciate earning your listening ears wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. Thank you to everyone tuned on in to our terrestrial affiliates around North America and digitally on TalkStream Live, Revolution Radio, and KPNL. All of our archives are free by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Just do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Fustian. Fustian is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the Clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot and reading up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show. For the final time tonight, we bring in our guest, Sheila Seppi. SheilaSeppi.com is her website. We're looking at walk-ins, cosmology, and everything in between. Sheila, you have an event coming up here pretty soon.
Yes, thank you so much. Tomorrow, every month through the Wish Alliance, we have a variety of speakers that come and will talk on a variety of different topics. They're always open to anyone that would like to join us, and there is no charge. And it's used on every Thursday and also on the second Monday. But you can find out who all of the speakers are by going to wishalliance.org and going to the tab, click on the events. And then there'll be you just have to scroll down. First, we have a hybrid conference that's coming up July the 24th and 25th, where individuals will be coming that are actually hybrids themselves, and they'll be sharing their stories. So you can sign up for that by going to portaltoascension.com or .org, portaltoascension.org, or you can just, again, go to the wishalliance.org to our event section. And then tomorrow night, we have James Twyman, who will be speaking. And we always start at 6 o'clock Mountain Time. So it's 6 p.m. Mountain Time. And again, if there's anyone out there that's listening that would like to join these meetings or become part of the Wish Alliance, please just let me know. And you can do that by signing up, going to the wishalliance.org to the contact section, and then in the comments you can say, I want to become part of it. I want the link for tomorrow night, because I do need to send you the link. So anyone interested, please feel free to join us. And that, again, is just part of our mission to provide community for people that are of like mind, whether it's a walk-in, indigo, starseed, hybrid, dimensional, angel, whoever it is. If you feel called to come to these meetings, we would love to have you there. And they're always on Zoom.
All right. Let's get to a couple questions from our audience. Vinny is asking, is astrology related to all of this?
Astrology is, I'm not a big student of astrology, although I do believe in it. It's just not one of those areas that I have really delved into. However, the astrological alignments definitely come into play. Like when I came in, my birth date originally was September 5th. So I was Virgo. And when the walk-in came in, I came in on the cusp, and I'm like a double Virgo. And so, boy, do I have those organizational tendencies. Just ask my husband, and he'll tell you. But yes, I do believe that astrology has a huge play, because that also helps to affect our personality. It affects the jobs that we're going to have in our lifetime, etc.
Follow up from Vinny. What's your thoughts on ghosts and the paranormal?
There are several different things. Obviously, ghosts are disembodied souls. And a lot of times what will happen is a soul, when it leaves, depending on the thought processes that you have in this life, we're co-creators of our reality. And so when we have certain thought processes, and these co-creations all, again, come from Source, God. But when we have certain belief systems, then that's what we will find on the other side. So if I believe that when I die, I'm immediately going to a spaceship, that's the first thing I'm going to experience. If I believe that there is nothing after life, I'm going to experience that for a little while. If a soul was not prepared to leave the body and there's an automobile accident, that soul will leave the body before the accident. But as that impact occurs and that soul leaves, it may be shocked. It may be unaware. There may not be someone right there immediately to guide them through. And that may be the experience that they need to have, just as much as the life experience. So ghosts are actually disembodied souls. And because there is no time, truly, on the other side, there's nonlinear time. So to that soul that's disembodied, they don't know that they may be going through a time loop and doing the same thing over and over again. They may look at us as being the ghost. What is that person doing in my home?
Makes a lot of sense. Makes a lot of sense. All right. So with spirits and ghosts, do you notice, or have you noticed, that ever since you had your soul changeover, that all of a sudden you have more paranormal activity around you? Your house is haunted. You see spirits.
Well, I can tell, I can feel, sometimes I will see them, but I do not have negative spirits around me. So at the one point in time when we lived in a house, there was, in the house, it was like an apartment complex, and the houses were relatively close together. There was like a portal that was open under this one house, and there was like this river almost of souls, or a river of goo that went through our property. And it didn't matter what I did, eventually those souls would come back. But when they would contact me, they were more aggravating than anything. I would be asleep and I could literally feel like a tapping or something on my body, and I would wake up and it's like, what do you want? You know, I fed them. I tried to educate them. I did everything I knew, and they were just there. They were just aggravating. But I don't think that it was because I'm a walk-in. I think it's because I was more open to that kind of energy. But that's the only place that I have ever experienced that. Any other place, I've been very sensitive to maybe disembodied spirits, but they're not there because I'm a walk-in. They're there because I'm in their space.
Major Lee is asking, will we ever have a scientific model of consciousness, or is this beyond science?
You know, I don't know if there could be a model, just like what I have tried to do in my explanation of coming from source all the way down into the human body. We can have diagrams, and we can talk about different levels or different frequencies, but the reality of it is everything has consciousness. Everything everything is coming from source. And so there will be various levels of consciousness, but those consciousnesses are found within the different dimensions or the subdimensions, or there's certain consciousness frequencies in like a density. And so we already are able to identify certain types of consciousness, but whether we will be successful in identifying and creating a true working model, I have no idea, and good luck to us.
A follow-up from Major Lee. Do you ever take DNA samples from the hybrid speakers at your events?
I have not taken DNA samples. I know that there are different researchers that are working with hybrids that are doing that right now. But I have not read any published anything published on that. I know one of the speakers that we have coming to the hybrid conference was actually taken onto a ship when she was in utero of her mother, and her mother had agreed to the hybridization program and was injected with 7 different types of DNA from 7 different species. And so as this woman has been on this planet and grown, she's had to learn how to integrate all of those different energies into her physical body. And it's been quite a struggle for her. And I don't think anyone has ever studied her or taken her samples. I know that one of the things that my son and I do at Spirit Way Wellness, where I have my office, we do what's called the live and dried blood cell analysis. And there is within the live blood cells, you can actually see more crystalline forming in people who I would consider of a higher vibrational frequency. And they're different than the uric crystals, the uric acid crystals that would be in there. And one of the walk-ins that I actually interviewed in the book, Endon, had his blood done by a friend of his. And some of those structures, when they blew them up, were actually in the shape of dolphins, in the shape of whales. And so I believe that our blood can really be a huge indicator. So Now, what that all means, I don't know, but I do know that people's blood is changing. I know that people's blood looks differently if they're of a higher vibrational frequency, and so I am sure that when those reports come out about the hybridization and all the DNA work that's being done, whether it's the epigenetics or whatever they're working on right now, it's going to be very fascinating.
Sheila Seppi is our guest tonight on Spaced Out Radio. We got her till the bottom of the hour. Michael is asking, have you seen loved ones who have passed away on the other side?
Yes, I have. Every time that I have a loved one that passes away, they always come to me and will give me messages to give to their family. And it may not make any sense to me at the time, but I try to give those messages unfiltered to whomever. So even though it's like within my family, it'd be like their immediate family. And then I've also had clients who have passed who will come to me and I'll give messages to their family.
Very cool. Very cool. What's that like to communicate with spirit?
Just like what we're communicating right now. It's I have a very good relationship with World of Spirit, the guides that I work with, and they provide the information. And I can think of one client that I had that I was very close to when they passed. I was just driving down the car and all of a sudden he just appeared right there in the car, just as if he were still in human form. And so, I think, to be honest with you, I have been guarded, guided, and protected the whole time that I've been here. I've not had negative interactions with spirits. Yes, we did have those malevolent little aggravating things that came from that river. But as far as, any type of horrific experience, I've not had that. I've not experienced that here. I've been very blessed. I do part of that collective consciousness, part of the collective that I came from was blessed with the Christ consciousness. And so I think that because I came in with more of the higher spiritual essence intact, that maybe that's what has protected me. I'm not sure, but I do know that I have been guided, guarded, and protected, and I've just had a beautiful time while I've been here.
Aaron is asking, what do you think about orbs?
I believe that orbs are the carriers for spirits, just like our physical bodies are carriers for our spirit. When we're disembodied, the orbs are the carriers of spirits.
Do you think it's not just dust particles that we're seeing?
Some of them could be, but not all of them. Very few. If you get like, I can't think of the plasma beings. Those definitely are not dust particles. Some of them could be, but I would say very small fraction.
Nikki is asking, have you ever closed portals or vortexes?
I have, just because sometimes it's too much energy that's coming into a space. I believe that, the vortexes are created along particular ley lines. And I use different energy tools in my house that's going to keep different kinds of energies. Our home has 0 point energy, and we use tools from the 9010, and you can find out about those on our website too, but on the Spirit Way Wellness site. But when you operate within 0 point energy, there's no other frequencies that are allowed here. And so when I close a portal, what I'm doing is then pulling in that 0 point energy, because it's all around us. It's a no frequency, but you have to pull that in, clear the frequencies, and then the portals will begin to close.
How do you clear the frequencies?
How do I clear the frequencies? It's more of a thought process. It's the intention, because everything we do is based on intention. And so if I go into an area, if I use a pendulum and and it's just going like crazy, or if I'm using divining rods or whatever the mechanism is, or if I'm just walking in an area and I feel static electricity, and then I'm setting the intention that I'm closing that, then in my mind, when I close my eyes, I'm actually seeing different various layers of things. And so for me, it's kind of like just taking a big eraser and energetically clearing them. Sometimes I will use crystals. Sometimes I will set up a grid, but always it's with intention.
B. Hoff has a question. Do loved ones ever drop or watch us? Do they have manners to give privacy during activities?
Well, the privacy issue is not an issue on the other side. It just is what it is. They could care less about things like that. But yes, they are around us. Sometimes they'll check in on us. You have to remember, when we're on the other side, we're just like we are here. Okay? But we don't look at things through the human eyes. We're in a different frequency level, and we are different. We're higher frequency, and we have higher thought processes. And so it's more of an observation than a judgment, because there is no judgment on the other side. Everything just is.
We have 4 minutes to go here tonight with our guest, Sheila Seppi. Let's get to Lone Wanderer's question. Sometimes when I lay down and close my eyes, I see flashes of purple orbs. What does this mean?
That's probably your spirit guides trying to get in touch with you, because remember, the orbs are carriers of spirit, and purple is a very high frequency color. And so just ask them what they want.
Is it that simple, though?
It's that simple.
But what if you don't get the answer?
Hard. We make everything hard. You know, a lot of times we have so many expectations attached to things that we're not open for the allowance of things to occur. And we block our own selves. We're our own worst enemies. But if we can just get out of the way, everything is so easy. It's very easy. We just make it hard.
What are we allowed to ask and not allowed to ask?
Of your guides, world of spirit?
Yeah.
You can ask anything. I mean, it's no different than having a regular conversation. You have to develop a relationship with your guides first, but they will answer everything. You may have angels. You may have your galactic family members, or what some people call extraterrestrials. Our guides will come in different forms. They may show themselves to us in a form that we would find very pleasing, or something that would make us feel comfortable. But all you have to do is develop a relationship and talk to them.
2 quick questions here before we let you go. And this one comes from Lone Wanderer. How can I let spirits know I'm okay to let them back in? I tried, but they are not listening.
I guess she's referring, if you're referring to your spirit guides, all you have to do is just let them know. Keep talking to them. And maybe part of a lesson that they're helping you to learn is, what is it like not to have that immediate access or that immediate gratification? So just keep talking to them. They're there. They don't leave you. Just keep talking.
Final question from our audience tonight, as we got about 90 seconds, comes from James. How do you see yourself physically on the other side?
Me personally, I am more or less a just twinkling essence of light, sound, and frequency. And if I want to think I'm going to raise my arm, I will have the sensation of raising my arm. Obviously, where I came from, the collective, I didn't have an arm, but I know what it's like to be the arm. I know what it's like to be the bone inside the arm. I know what it's like to be the skin on top of the bone. That is the arm. I know what it's like to be the fingers. I know what it's like to flex. I have all of that knowledge, but I don't have the arm.
Sheila, let everybody know where they can find your website and your book.
Yes, thank you. You can go to SheilaSeppi.com, and I have information about the book there, Walk-Ins, Cosmology of the Soul. You can find it on Amazon. It's also in e-format for Kindles, and it's also on Audible. And then please, please, please visit wishalliance.org, sign up, become part of our community, attend our meetings, and we have what's called a family gathering once a month, our family reunion. And you can come in, meet like-minded people, share your stories. We'll talk about topics, but it's more of a free flow. But for the book, you can go to Amazon, Walk-Ins, Cosmology of the Soul, and it looks like this.
Excellent.
Thank you so much.
Sheila Seppi, thank you so much for appearing on Spaced Out Radio. Really appreciate your time. Coming up next, we have the SOR Newswire. We have the Thought of the Dave. Stay tuned. Spaced Out Radio continues right after this. Great show, Sheila. Thank you so much.
This was so fun. Thank you for inviting me.
Well, that's what we like to do here on SOR every now and again. We really appreciate that.
Well, thank you very much.
Oh, not a problem. I'll let you get to bed.
Okay. Enjoy the rest of the show.
Take care.
Okay, good night.
Bye-bye. That's Sheila Seppi, everyone. Wonderful person. Wonderful. Absolutely love her. Love her. That was a good show. Hey, gorgeous Jean Beckett. I got to admit, I am so not into this show tonight. Nothing to do with Sheila. It's just the loss of Grandma Rose. It hit me. Hit me hard. Oh, I'm sure Vinny's relatives just shake their head and cover their eyes. I believe you, Brother Eugene. Well, Fapster is Grandma Rose's grandson. And Fap, when he used to take care of Grandma Rose, they'd sit and listen to this show. And I think it was about a year and a half ago, maybe 2 years ago, we actually called Grandma Rose one night. And we absolutely love her. And so, Fap, I know I already said it, man, but my heart goes out to you. My heart really goes out to you. Yeah, Grandma Rose had a crush on me. She was supposed to be my date for the Vegas party. Damn it, Grandma Rose, ruining a good party in Vegas. Well, Lone Wanderer, you are more than welcome to hang out anytime you want and kind of learn the backstory of everything that kind of goes on here. We do some strange stuff. We have some traditions. We have a lot of fun. Oh. The Vegas party will be right now. It all depends when the Canadian border opens up. Once the Canadian border opens up, we'll set a date for it. Then all of you will be invited. Tomorrow night on the show, we're going to talk Mokili Mbembe and other strange cryptids. Alex Mistretta will be here. He only does his work shirtless. Bomber has a very strong comment. Welcome to SOR, Lone Wanderer. Nothing you need to be scared about here except the size of FAP's head. That's scary. This is true. This is true. FAP has a giant melon. In fact, if this was FAP behind the mic, it'd be like this. Hey, where's the guest? Where's the guest? I'm FAP. Look at my head. It's true. Totally true. Thank you to Lone Wanderer, Chloe, Michael, Bobby, Fapster, and Vinny for the super chats. We really do appreciate it. And we're going to get going with the news here in about 15 seconds. We rounded third. We're heading for home tonight on Spaced Out Radio. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you so much for listening to us tonight. We really do appreciate it. We want to remind you that if you missed most of this show or others, check out our free archives by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot and reading up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show. Speaking of the news, the news is always changing, which is why we bring you the SOR Newswire at the back end of every show, where we get to the weird, the strange, the wacky, and sometimes, oh goodness, I just lost the story. I was going to talk about the news. Hold on. We gotta make a change here. Captain Shirk, I screwed up. She's going to be like, "What did you do, David? What did you do?" Well, I accidentally closed off the story that I was getting to. Hold on, I got to find it here. This is the beauty of live radio, is sometimes things happen that you don't plan on, like accidentally closing a window that has your first story on it. And I got to find it now, because this is going to absolutely screw me up. There it is. There it is. We got it. All right, here we go. NASA Administrator and former astronaut Bill Nelson believes it's likely that humans will get some kind of indication that intelligent life outside of our own exists in the universe. The 78-year-old former U.S. Senator told CNBC's Shepard Smith that it's likely that life exists in the universe, pointing to its age and expanse as potential reasons for intelligent life to exist. If you have a universe that is 13.5 billion years, it is so big, is there another chance for another sun and another planet that has an atmosphere like ours, Nelson said? I would say yes. So I think we're going to get some indication that there is intelligent life out there. He added that NASA has been involved for years looking for life, referring to NASA's astrobiology program. We're looking for life on Mars, on the other planets, in the cosmos, trying to determine other suns that have planets with habitable atmosphere, Nelson pointed out. NASA's Perseverance rover, along with its Ingenuity helicopter, are currently on the red planet looking for fossilized evidence of life as one of the mission's main goals. Nelson's comments on the subject are the second time in less than 2 weeks he has said humans may not be alone in the universe. After the release of the Pentagon report on unidentified aerial phenomena last month, Nelson said that he has seen the classified version and believes there is clearly something there. We don't think it's an adversary. Oh, interesting. Let's read this here for a second. We don't think it's an adversary, but when it comes to the universe, remember, the universe is so large, we have a program in NASA called the Search for Extraterrestrial Intelligence. But thus far, we haven't had any received communication from something that is intelligent. Oh, come on. That's because you guys have had the blinders on. June's long-awaited report from the Pentagon on the subject of unidentified aerial phenomena offered no explanation for the 143 of the 144 observations dating back to 2004. The declassified report, which came from the Office of the Director of National Intelligence, added that it lacks sufficient data to determine the nature of mysterious flying objects. In 18 incidents described in 21 reports, observers reported unusual UAP movement patterns or flight characteristics. Some UAP appeared to remain stationary in winds aloft, move against the wind, maneuver abruptly, or move at considerable speed without discernible means of propulsion. In a small number of cases, military aircraft systems process radio frequency energy associated with UAP sightings. Don't you love it when they just regurgitate what we already know? Like, why not focus on the fact that Nelson just is quoted as saying, we don't think it's an adversary. Guess what we've been hearing for months? Threat, adversary, threat, adversary, threat, adversary. How about we just call it for what it is? We don't know. Seems like everyone in the Azalea Heights neighborhood of McKinleyville, California, had a different name for the peacock that visited their homes almost every day. One local family called it Peony. The residents of the Azalea Estates mobile home community called it Mr. P. And Melissa and Mike Glass, who gave the bird his own enclosure on their property, called him Azul. He literally showed up out of the blue one day, Melissa said. He's just been part of our life ever since. Or he was part of their lives, because whatever he was called, Peony, Mr. P, or Azul, he'll have to be referred to in the past tense. Last week, an elderly Azalea Estates resident found the peacock in her yard, dead from a gunshot wound to its brightly feathered chest. The bird's death clearly wasn't accidental, not unless another peacock grew a set of thumbs and carelessly handed a .22 and shot it. But it was also telegraphed by a threatening-sounding Craigslist ad from a local man who offered a financial payout to anyone who could help him eliminate this bird. After the peacock's body was found, Kelsey Redant remembered seeing the upsetting Craigslist post several weeks earlier. She had sent screenshots of the ad to her dad, who frequently gave the bird a breakfast-time slice of sourdough bread. He feels really responsible, like he should have done more when we saw the ad, called the sheriff in. We didn't think anybody would actually do it, but man, were we wrong. The now deleted Craigslist post is 100% clear in its intention. This is what it says. The job is simple. Get rid of a wild peacock that is disrupting our lives, it read. Locating the bird is easy, as it roosts in the trees near my house every evening about 8 to 8:30 p.m. Please contact me so we can form a strategy to eliminate this bird and to also agree on how much you will be compensated. The poster wrote that the peacock's call had been an unwanted alarm clock for several months, waking him up every morning between 5 and 5:30 a.m. and continues calling for about 3 hours. He said he tried earplugs and putting a pillow over his head, but nothing worked, and clearly there were zero other options on the continuum between wearing earplugs and murdering a bougie-ass chicken. Melinda and Mike Glass looked at screenshots of the ad After their beloved bird was killed, Mike was given the grim task of removing its blood-soaked body from the neighbor's yard, and they noticed that whoever wrote the listing had included a Google Maps link at the bottom. They also realized that they knew exactly who lived in the house designated on the map because he'd previously asked them about ushering the peacock out of the neighborhood. He also approached other people in the neighborhood, both in person and by email, to ask them about relocating the bird to some other street or some other subdivision. He told them that he was an animal lover, but once the open letter was to Ken Salazar, then Secretary of the Interior, advocating for an increased environmental protection for polar bears, but his affinities might be limited to some kind of animal that lives 2,300 miles away. Well, this has created quite a hue and cry. I mean, first off, somebody actually posted on Craigslist. It's 2021. And somebody's still posting on Craigslist? Didn't Craigslist kind of die off a couple of years ago when they decided no more personal ads? Pretty much killed their business. Either way, different subject. The Lost Coast Outpost reached out to the man and asked the outlet to confirm that the peacock was indeed dead, then declined to answer the question about the Craigslist ad or about the bird. If a crime has been committed, then I'm consulting an attorney, he said. I believe that would be prudent. No one seems to have determined whether a crime was committed or not, nor have they untangled what the Craigslist poster's role was. A spokesperson for the Humboldt County Sheriff's Office confirmed that the agency is investigating the incident. A potential suspect has been identified by deputies, and a search warrant was served at a residence on Hewitt Road in relation to the investigation. No arrests have been made at this time. The crimes currently being investigated are animal cruelty and conspiracy to commit a crime. Now, Mike and Melissa Glass have considered the possibility of filing a civil lawsuit, while other neighbors are concerned what the man might do if, say, someone's barking dog wakes this guy up next time. Someone should think about moving something in that's truly annoying to this person. Aggressive geese come to mind, but I'm not sure there are other things. You know what? Canadian geese will take care of this. This is a mission for Canadian geese. You know, but seriously, this is the type of person that I worry about. You know, they got to take the law into their own hands. I wonder if this guy thought about closing his window so that way he could muffle the bird sounds. I have a horn that blasts like an air raid horn every time the fire department gets called out in my rural area. You know what? I close my windows if I don't want to hear it loud. It works. Yeah. Close the windows, earplugs, maybe turn on some music. YouTube's full of it. No, this guy's just an a-hole. Just an a-hole. All right. Let's head over to China, where the lovely Communist Party is shutting down things again because, you know, we're not allowed to have fun in China. Chinese gaming giant Tencent is rolling out facial recognition to stop children playing between 10 o'clock at night and 8 in the morning. The Midnight Patrol technology will stop tricks circumventing the government curfew introduced in 2019 with a cap on what young gamers could spend on in-game transactions, it said. The ban requires gamers to register with their official IDs linked to a national database, but children have reportedly been using adults' IDs instead of their own. And now anyone playing for a certain length of time will require a facial scan to prove they are an adult. Tencent started testing the system in 2018, but it will now cover more than 60 games from the world's biggest gaming company. It announced the expansion on China's QQ messaging service, calling it 0 hours cruising, while the Chinese news site Sixth Tone translated as Midnight Patrol. Many of Tencent's top titles, such as Honor of Kings and Game for Peace, are for phones. Mobile gaming is far more popular in China than in the West. Facial recognition is easier to implement using a cell phone camera than on a computer game or console. And age checks using cameras are already being suggested to verify users' age for online sales of adult products. The World Health Organization formally recognized gaming addiction in 2018, and the following year, the NSH adopted treatment plans for what is seen as a rare disorder affecting only a small proportion of the hardcore gamers. But in China, video games have often been accused of having a negative impact on young people, including nearsightedness in children. And in a bid to tackle what China considers problem gaming, all new titles must be approved by a regulator, which in 2018 froze releases and has since appeared to limit the number. Communism at its best, everyone. Communism at its best. A New England homeowner received a shock recently when they discovered a rare Pablo Picasso work in their relative's main home. The framed 16 by 16 inch piece of paper, inscribed at the bottom right with the artist's signature, had sat in a closet for 50 years. The unnamed individual writes in a statement published on liveauctioneers.com. After spending decades hidden away, the surprising find sold at auction last Saturday for more than $150,000, reports Travis Anderson. The reports and the work was auctioned off alongside more than 550 paintings, sculptures, and other items recovered from private estates in Massachusetts, New Hampshire, Maine, and Connecticut. In their statement, the seller, who has chosen to remain anonymous, said that their grandmother and great-aunt both studied art in Europe during the 1920s. Their aunt reportedly collected rare books and art. Each woman led an interesting life with uncommon travels, which was afforded to them by their uncle who owned mills in Maine, the statement explains. This painting was discovered in a house owned by my great-aunt, which was passed down to her from her uncle in the late 1930s. The seller adds there were several paintings kept in a closet for 50 years, including this example, which were left by her at the time of the passing of the house to my father and now to me. Picasso made a name for himself in the early 20th century Europe by experimenting with cubism. His geometric paintings from Guernica and Les Demoiselles d'Avignon towed the line between abstraction and figuration. But as the National Opera of Paris points out, the artist had also had a long, lesser-known career as a theater designer. That's very cool. Very cool. Let's move on. Here's a cool story. Oregon authorities say a Portland man is a hero. Why? Because there was a shooting incident that saw 29 bullets fly before witnesses subdued and beat up the suspect, who was the only person injured. A neighbor snuck up on a gunman and knocked him out before others helped tie him up. Luke Stolyarsky allegedly fired more than 24 rounds indiscriminately at an occupied apartment in southwest Portland around 1 a.m. on June 29th. No one was injured, thankfully, except for the suspect after witnesses disarmed him and detained him. After being woken up by a loud argument, a neighbor identified in court documents as John Dixon went outside and saw the suspect with a handgun and green laser. Stolyarsky left, but then came back with an AR-15, which he is accused of firing at random towards a row of apartments. Dixon crept up and bashed a 140-pound suspect with a stick. He then wrestled the gun away, narrowly avoiding getting shot, and pummeled the gentleman with his fist until he was unconscious. Responding officers arrived outside of Stevens Creek Crossing Apartments in response to multiple 911 calls and found several people standing around the defendant, who was hogtied and being beaten up. The incident started after a dispute over noise and a dog between Stolyarsky and another neighbor, Kenneth Nelson, according to court documents. He was armed with a handgun at first, but went home and returned with the rifle before opening fire. Police say that they recovered 29 shell casings and an AR-15 at the scene. They also saw bullet strikes in multiple cars and apartments and found a handgun at Stolyarsky's apartment in the neighboring building. Additionally, surveillance video allegedly shows Stolyarsky firing at a man fleeing through the parking lot. Responding officers took Stolyarsky to a hospital and charged him with multiple counts of unlawful use of a weapon, criminal mischief, and discharging a firearm. The citizens won this one. By the way, His top charge right now, attempted second-degree murder, and he'll be in jail for a while. Thought of the Dave happens every night at this time, where we ask a question on our Facebook and Twitter pages, then read your responses on the air, because we love the audience participation around here. Today's Thought of the Dave is as follows. Why is Close Encounters of the Third Kind still the best E.T. contact movie out there? Start off with Ozzy, Sister, Sister. It had a huge impact on my young mind. It was so desperately beautiful that I wanted it to be true. I still shape my mashed potatoes into a mountain sometimes. Brian, because it was disclosure. Grabbing. The ending depicts many of our dreams. Excellent film. Paul, I never liked the ending when I was a kid. Too lame. The abductions were happening and they were not being held accountable. D, I've always loved this movie, but one time I was watching it with a friend, and at the end he shouted, he just left his wife and kids. Still love it, but now I think about that every time I watch it. I've thought about that too. But she left him. Terry Garr and the children left Richard Dreyfuss. Remember, she says, I'm going to my mom's house. So he was like, screw it, I'm out of here. I'm leaving the planet. You want a divorce? You want child support? You want spousal support? Come find me in space. It's exactly what happened. Olaf, because humans at the end acted like humans. In real life, the military would probably shoot at them and use bombs and stuff. ET UFO, because it plays into the UEA in uninformed Earthlings. Oh, this is Mr. Acronym guy. They view extraterrestrials as going to be benevolent. Tell them ET is malevolent, and they will run back to the ET movie like a comforter and pacifier. Spookles the cat. Lies, Dave. The best is the cat from outer space, and you know it. Brennan, nothing else even comes close. Leuna, saw it for the first time when I was 9, and it blew my mind. Still the one movie that resonates with me as an adult. Greg, because Steven Spielberg knows what's up and had some legit source intel, as he showed again in the de facto CE4K sequel miniseries, Taken. Mike, APRO and other civilian groups had by then compelled many cases as well. Let's go UFO believers, because Jacques Vallée was in it. Fred, but J. Allen Hynek was in the film right at the end. Spoiler alert. My number 2 favorite film, Contact, is number 1. Death, because some art is better than other art. Strafe, because it was a happy ending and no PTSD connotation. Music and Truth, depends on how you look at it. Spielberg has made much out of the fact that there's a tragedy there too. Roy's family, he may have been right, but his obsession cost him his family. That's very true. Thank you to everybody participating in the Thought of the Dave. We will do it all again tomorrow night, so make sure you tune in. I'll ask a question tomorrow morning on Facebook and on Twitter if you want to play along. And thank you to Captain Shirk for a wonderful SOR news wire, and to Sheila Seppi for hanging on out, talking walk-ins and cosmology. We got Mr. Ron Bumblefoot Thal rocking in the background with Little Brother is Watching. Bumblefoot is the official music of Spaced Out Radio, rocking us in and out of every single show. Get your horns up for the guitar god himself. Special thanks to everybody listening in at home, at work, in your cars, wherever you may be. Thank you to everyone tuning us in on YouTube, LGAB, Revolution Radio, Spreaker, Facebook, Space Travelers Club, and on Twitter at hashtag Spaced Out Radio.
I know you're out there somewhere.
Remember, this show is copyright by Spaced Out Radio and SOR Media Ventures Limited. Thank you so much for choosing to share your evening with us, because together, my friends, we own the night. Mr. Bumblefoot, We need a favor. We need you to take us home. This one's for you, Grandma Rose, as you kick off into the sunset, entering your next journey. We love you. Thank you for being one of our greatest listeners, our oldest listener. We're going to miss you. We dedicate this show to you. Good night, Grandma Rose, and good night, everybody. We'll see you tomorrow. Oh, my headphones get sweaty at night. Silent Edge, how you doing? The lovely and talented Dana Stinnett Jackson. Jackson. That's right, Bomber. Keep that one up for a little bit. Download the show. All right. Oh, close that out. Keep that one for now. Hey, Knucker, how are you, man? Edens. Zvezdas. It's always that one piece right there. Just wants to come on down. So remember, ladies, if you're hanging out with Vinny one night, you never want him to take off your shoes because he has 6 toes and webbed feet on each foot. Just saying. Be right back. How we all doing? Hey, Guillermo, how are you, buddy? Sorry about your Habs. Probing time to turn on the lights on. Probing time. Turn out the lights on over every boy and every girl. That's awesome. Probing time. That's good. Oh, goodness. It was about a year and a bit ago that he got into the whole eating aliens thing. Oh, did we have some peak woo on that night? Good night, beautiful Aussie Ange. We shall miss you until later on today. All right, where's the start of this one? There's the end. I think the start may be right about here. Hold on, I got to turn this up a bit.
Was growing up.
And you know, he is the author of the book Walk Control. But the time has arrived for us to rock. Let's do it. All right. We got about 29 seconds, or a little bit more than that, before we're going to get as well. For 7 days. Let's do it. So we need to trim right there. Hi, Olin. Oob to Joe's Maine. Oh, that was Steve Urcantalo. I liked that interview. That one was fun. He was angry, but I think a good angry. I was a fan of his. Tomorrow night we have Alex Mistretta talking Mokili Mbembe. We're going to have some fun. And other strange cryptids. All right. Thanks, Chad. Appreciate it, man. Jeff Irchick, how are you? Jerry Springer with a beard. Thank you. I appreciate that. Oh, that's funny. That is funny. Hey, Paul Holland, that is a very good excuse to miss the show. Hanging out with your little granddaughter. Very good excuse. Hey, that actually made me think, man. That actually made me think there for a second. I'm not going to lie. I'm like, really? Was he filming a movie up here in BC? Oh, shit, he means me. Yeah, that's exactly what happened there. Where is Preston Beckett? The Preston Beckett. My puppies are doing well. Today was a little tough on the air quality. But the firefighters won a couple of major battles. They did backburns on 2 of the bigger fires. And they seemed to work. And then the wind shifted and moved the fires into that backburn, which was really good. Oh, there's Preston Beckett. What's happening? Dave versus Dave sleeping versus Dave on acid all look the same. Never done acid. Done sleeping. Are they chasing a gnome again, Joe? Is the gnome back? Don't fuck with me on this one. Is the gnome back? Thank you, World Bigfoot Radio. Do I know what Makili bamboo is? No. What comment from Vin? So I just got hit in the nose by a bug. Get out of here, you dirty bastard. Get the fuck out of here. Oh, it's one of them bastards. Get the fuck out of here. Now I got to go look for his comment. Vin, Dave looks like if football players evolved into not needing helmets anymore. Hey, that's FAP, not me. That was still a weird story. FAP totally wears a helmet to bed. You know what's weird, Joe? Try finding that story on Google. Man, this download is like taking forever. Forever and ever. Let's make this last forever and ever and ever. Thanks, Vin. Careful, ladies. Vinny's Tinder profile clearly states that he's into crop dusting and Dutch ovens. And this one is... You know how many times women have to swipe right to get past FAP's head on Tinder? Like 33, 34 times. Almost made myself joke on that one. That was funny. I don't usually laugh at my own jokes, but that was funny. Hey, Mr. Duff, what's going on? Silent Edge, what's happening? Get the hell out of here, you stupid bug. Hi, Stone Hobbit. JR Knucklehead, what's going on? Very true. I knew that would be done, and that one's going to be almost done here. This one's not even close yet. Let's go like that. Hey, don't blame me. Blame Joe. My God, it's finally complete. Holy cow. Hi, Carl. Damn it, I've mistitled the show. Oh well. There's no man bun there. There will never be a man bun. D. Swagger, how are you? Thank you, Stone Hobbit. It's done. I got it on my other computer, Joe. I don't have it on this one. Hey, Steam Train Mark. Corey had some family stuff to do, and he couldn't really commit to what we were doing anymore. And I need to be able to be in contact with my booking people at all times. And I was struggling to have to get a hold of them. All right, everyone. Tomorrow night on the show, Alex Mistretta will be joining us as we get closer to rounding out the week. And we're going to be talking Mokili, Mobembe, other potential dinosaurs, cryptids, monsters, the need for scientific investigation on these. 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern. We thank you all for tuning us in. Thank you to Vinny, Fabster, Bobby, Michael, Chloe, and Lone Wanderer for the amazing super chats tonight. It really supports what we do on a nightly basis. So thank you so much. And much love to all of our regulars out there who are here almost every night chatting with us, making it a fun time. And thank you to all of our veterans out there who've served everywhere in the world. We love you, and thank you so much for everything. We'll talk to you all tomorrow night, and I'll be here. I hope you are too. Talk soon, everyone. Good night.